I stare at the stars and the sky up above and think, what am I made of? Am I full of sorrow? Am I hurt and pain? Or am I filled with love? I walk by myself on the streets below and ask every child I know, do you think tomorrow will bring sun or rain? Which one of these will show? I can't say goodbye to yesterday, my friend. I keep holding on till the end. Out of the darkness, there is no other way than the light leading to yesterday. It's there that I'll find inner peace, not war, and dreams that I let slip away. I'll find the joyfulness I'm looking for way back in yesterday.
Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty is, without doubt, my favourite entry in the Metal Gear pantheon, yet it's often seen as the worst in the series from fans. Similarly, Raiden is often seen as a poor substitute as a central protagonist to Solid Snake, and is often pointed to as the reason for such bewildering negative reaction. Is there really no place for Raiden in the MGS games? Was Kojima wrong to mislead players? Is the story of the Sons of Liberty really so convoluted? Find out with me, your host, Zero, as I explore this, the most controversial main series, Metal Gear. From where I'm standing, a lot of the negative reactions to MGS2 was Kojima duping fans in the run-up until release, with every video, image, and even reviews of the game omitting the fact that Snake was only to play a relatively small role in his first outing on the PS2. This very deliberate control of information not only reflected the core themes and ideas of Sons of Liberty, but ensured that everything about the most hotly anticipated game for Sony's new platform wasn't known before the title hit the shelves, preserving the dramatic effect of the final moments of Snake aboard the tanker. Hideo's lead for MGS2 was to be the inexperienced mystery man Raiden, a green soldier that had supposedly only seen combat simulation experience in VR training, with the big shell to be his first real-world mission. Seen as whiny and petulant by fans, Raiden's voice actor Quentin Flynn played Jack as very much the rookie, constantly questioning his orders, becoming paranoid and not believing the extreme situations he is put in. Though fan reaction was poor to this choice, Raiden's speech patterns and behaviour were similar to that of Solid Snake in the first MGS outing. Kojima wishing to retain the newbie element for dramatic effect within the narrative, but not placing it upon Solid Snake, who had already seen floating psychics, mystical shaman, and clones of himself on the battlefield. In this way, to criticise the game for Raiden's inexperienced nature is to criticise the original Metal Gear Solid, an odd choice for those wishing this sequel was more like the first. Indeed, Raiden is a fairly carte blanche character for Kojima to insert into the fiction of the MGS world. We know very little of Jack for a vast majority of the game, and in turn are open to place our own feelings towards situations upon the lead. We can even give him our own name, displayed on his dog tags. Raiden is nothing but a faceless tool for his masters, and a canvas upon which we paint our own experiences of the Big Shell, leading to a greater sense of involvement and self-concern. When the startling revelations about Jack's past come to light and the true nature of his mission is revealed, we share in Raiden's self-discovery equally, again maintaining a high level of engagement. Of all of the relationships, if you can call them that Raiden has with the title's characters, it is perhaps that with Emma Emmerich that proves most interesting. Emma is significantly younger and theoretically has less life experience to draw upon in dealing with her own highly complex issues, yet linguistically her dialogue with Raiden is more mature and more knowledgeable. Though she has an irrational fear of water, she is strong enough to put her faith in others to help overcome them, a world away from Raiden's much colder approach to others, including his girlfriend Rose. Looking into the subtext of Jack's motivations reveals great depth below the surface, if only you take the time to look and to think. Another criticism of the title is its length, specifically that it is too short. My most recent playthrough, my third playthrough, weighed in at around the 8 or 9 hour mark, a standard length for games of this current generation. Though much of this time is taken up with cutscenes, this has always been a feature of a series by a director who is notoriously a fan of film, utilising beautiful cinematic video to propel a complex story forward. The actual time in which you interact with your environment, the playtime, however, is incredibly focused and high quality. Nothing feels perfunctory or excessive if you don't want it to. That said, the sheer amount of additional details and secrets within the game is staggering. Flipping through the official strategy guide from Piggyback, there are context-sensitive actions to be found, whole swathes of dialogue that can be missed, entire caches of weapons and items that must be sought out if the player is to experience them. These range from the kooky, finding Easter Island head statues, a Konami trademark, littered throughout the areas, to the impactful, discovering special combat techniques to take out the enemy more efficiently. Metal Gear Solid 2 can be a lengthy experience then. You just need to have the right frame of mind. One final major negative frequently bandied about is the convoluted story. To me, this argument doesn't hold much water until the final hour or so of the game. Until the interrogation and infamous naked scene, it's a narrative that's fairly straightforward, especially when you compare it to books or movies from the conspiracy genre. There are moments of absurdity, true. The battle with a rollerblading fat man boss upon the top of a helicopter pad is jarring in its clumsy attempt at comedy, but that's not complexity. With repeated playthroughs, the coded conversations between Ocelot and Olga, the techno-babble-filled dialogue with Otcon and Snake, talk of the S3 program and VR environments and what the mission really is, are nowhere near as ludicrous as many would like to make out they are. At its core, this is really a retelling of the original Metal Gear Solid. Thematically, it continues the series' exploration of betrayal, the flow of information, and self-discovery. The final hour, as I mentioned, becomes difficult to grasp when Kojima really lays the metaphor on thick, and the final scene, a battle to the death with Solidus Snake upon New York's Federal Hall, is only confusing geographically due to late cuts in the story following the disastrous events of September the 11th, Kojima sensitive to showing the destruction of a city that had only 2 months previously witnessed a massive terror of its own. But enough of the negatives and naysaying. What is it about Sons of Liberty that makes it my favourite Metal? Well, I don't want to focus too much on all of the positives about the game, but for me it's one simple fact. This is the entry in the series that would come to define it and shape its course forevermore. Every main series entry in the franchise owes everything to MGS2 in some way, and even the original would later be reworked to be more like its sequel. The graphical stylings, control scheme, multiple options to handle opponents, narrative beats, musical direction, directorial feel, everything here is the epitome of what Metal Gear Solid is, and while the first may have sowed the seeds of the 3D stealth action revolution, it's only here that they come to bear lasting fruit. For the definitive MGS experience then, this is it. Full of wonderfully rich characters, evocative environments, thought-provoking drama, and intense action. You can't do better than this second entry in the Solid series. A masterpiece from Konami. It's one of the very rare games that can legitimately claim a place in the top 10 games of all time lists. Up there with the very best output from Miyamoto, Spectre, Mikami, Levine, and more. When art historians begin to look back on video gaming, to this bountiful era of creativity and change, of great successes and failures, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty will stand as a shining example of design and artistic expression, leading the charge of interactive entertainment that tried to tell a story and share an opinion. For now though, MGS2's legacy is a plain one. It is simply one of the best games ever made.
And next week on InRetroSolid, Strider takes a unique look at the third entry in the Metal Gear Solid series, Snake Eater.
A small area of sparse woodland, brimming with beautiful white flowers, sits by the side of a vast lake. A woman, dressed in white combat gear, lies defeated in the centre of these flowers, with a Patriot gun held at her head. The bearer of this weapon is a burly, bearded soldier, dressed in snow camouflage. A dark blue bandana trails behind him, and we can't help but notice the eye patch. He was once known as Naked Snake, and the woman at his feet was his boss. But how did we get here? What journey did we undertake to get to this spot?
That's all to come next week on InRetroSolid.